Hi, I'm Jody Hand, Mrs. Hand Painted, and in today's video I'll be showing you how to make this really pretty card with an arrangement of loose flower hydrangeas. This would be a really great card for just because to send out, or you can customize it for a great Mother's Day card as well. Well, have fun painting along with me. Alright, in this video today I'm going to be painting a little bucket of hydrangeas in a very loose style. Kind of sketched out what I wanted to do, and I found a picture on Pinterest to kind of give me an inspiration. I'm going to have like a gray, like galvanized metal type bucket, and then I'll just have a bunch of hydrangea blooms coming out of it, and then some green leaves that are coming up around it, almost like it's planted in that bucket instead of in a vase or something. So I'm going to do it on this Strathmore watercolor card. I just got a big box of 50 of these so I can make a whole bunch of cards. Since I need to start sending out some snail mail to people, since we can't visit anybody right now. So I got these. It was a set of 50 of them. It was, when I priced it out, it was a lot more economical to buy this. They came in like 10 packs or a 50 pack or a 100 pack, I think. But I ended up just getting the 50 pack so that I'd have lots of them and I wouldn't have to reorder. So they fold in half and they came with envelopes, so I'll have plenty of stuff. And I'm going to use today my Art Philosophy Watercolor Confections. I'm going to use the Pastel Dream set to mainly do the flowers part. And then the bucket and foliage, I'll use my Woodlands set. There's a really pretty deep green that'll work really good for the leaves and foliage. And then this gray stone will be really good to do for the bucket. And I can add in some other variations of the grays and browns and stuff to kind of give that bucket some texture. And there's some different purple, blue, and pretty variations I can use for the flowers in these pastel sets. So these would be really great to use, and they're still pretty highly pigmented for a less expensive paint. They're kind of moderately priced in my opinion. I think each of these sets was about, depending on where you buy them, you can get them for around $25 a piece. So I think that Art Philosophy always has coupons that you can find for their website. I'm going to just start out with, this is a graphite aquarelle pencil from Faber-Castell in the HB hardness, which is going to give me the lightest drawing. And I'm just going to sketch out, just like I did on my sketchbook there, just the bucket shape. So it's curved at the bottom. And this is just to give me a visual of where my bucket is. So when I put my foliage and my flower blooms, I'm literally just drawing the sides and the bottom of it. I'm going to use my Princeton Velvetouch brushes in a size 4 and a 1 today. And let me just pull up my little sketch here and kind of remind myself where I wanted to. Alright, I'll kind of have some smaller ones here. Maybe I'll vary up the color to different shades of blue and purple just to give some variation. So this is very loose and small, and it's on a card, so I'm not going to be drawing every petal. I'm not going to be going too crazy with trying to do every single little flower petal on this. So I just want to give the idea that these are hydrangeas. And okay, I'm looking at this and I already can tell that I drew that off center. I'm just going to make it a little bigger. Fix that, and I grab my really dark pencil instead of my light one, of course. I'm just going to make it a little wider to even that out a little bit. Pick some of that pencil up. I just want that really light. I don't want it to be too dark. Okay, so I'm going to do the bucket after I do my leaves because I don't want the gray to be behind the green. So that'll be the last part I do, but this is there so that I remember where it is. Alright, and I don't remember what the names of these colors are. They just have numbers on this pastel set. I think if you order it now, they might have I've had these for quite a while, so they might have names on them, but on their website they do have names. So I'll just tell you the numbers I'm using. I'm going to start on this side, and I have an inspiration photo I'm kind of going off of, and they're kind of green and blue, so I'm going to use this number 45. I'll mix some of that. You know what, I'm actually, oops, sorry for all the noise. I'm going to get a plate out. I just prefer having a little plate instead of the metal tins. It just kind of, let me do a little rearranging here, excuse me. Sorry for all my shuffling here. Okay, we'll just take that down. You probably, if you're using these cards, I wouldn't recommend folding in half. I just tried to do that so that I could fit everything on here so you could see it. All right, so this is a very minty green, actually. Let me see. If I add in a little bit of this number 47, it's kind of like a very pale baby blue. I do have some yellow here I can mix, try to get, yeah, there we go. That's kind of like almost like a limey green color. That's really what I'm going for. And then I can do that blue with it, the number 47. So I use 43, 45, and 47. And then I'm just using 47 for the other part of this. Just get some of that. Very pretty pastels. Okay. So with my 4, I'm just going to do some little dabs and do it in a little circular format for the mops of those mop head hydrangeas. And I'm leaving some white space in there. I lost my towel. And then I'm just going to intersperse a little bit of that green in there. Okay. Now I've got one above it that's a little more, there's one tucked behind, but I'll do this one that's kind of more purpley blue. So maybe I'll take this 46 and mix that with the 48. I'll probably end up with lots of different variations of purple and blue. Oops. Other blue. Just get some more of this purple over here. Just pretty. Okay. And I'll just kind of make a little, and if we get some bleeding, that's okay. I'll give this lots of variation. Just take a little more of that blue, and then I can, just by varying the color of that, if you have them all smooshed together, you can still see them. And then I'll take just some of that plain blue. I'll put one up here that's more of that blue with the green again. Maybe one that's more blue, purple right here. Maybe I have a little bigger one right here. Ooh, that's a little too bright. I'm gonna add some of that purple in there. All right, I have quite a bit of water pooling up here, so I actually want to take my brush and wipe it off on my towel. I'm just picking up, I just don't want all of that water on there. And I can always go back in with more layers, so. One tip, if you're rinsing your brush out to switch colors and you have it sopping wet and it's just dripping like this, is to just dab it on your paper towel and go back into your paint that's already mixed up, because you have water mixed on your palette. The only time we need to add more water is if you need to dilute, and then you can dry your and go back into your diluted color. Otherwise, you're just going to have so much water that pools up on your painting, and you can end up with blooms all over and funny distortions that you might not want. In any of these blank spaces here, I can go back and add leaves if I wanted to. I can add some in between. In fact, I'm going to leave a little gap here and have one right here. All right, and I'm just going to go back to the same colors I'd mixed up on my palette and just add another little layer over top just to give a little more dimension, and making sure you're just leaving some of that white area left and some of your other color from below showing through. So just kind of dabbing that on top of my flowers and just using those same colors I had mixed up on my palette. All right, I am just going to do my next step, which would be my leaves, and I'm switching over to that Woodland set, and I'm using the Deep Moss number 96, and I'll mix together with that some of the Mist, which is kind of a turquoisey blue, just so that I can get some more blue, darker green tones, and then the Daylight number 94. So 92, 94, 96, just kind of mixing those up all on my palette here. And I'll just do some different variations so that I can have a few different shades of green on my plate. And I'll just make some different leaves with those different colors I'm mixing up. All right, and just putting in some leaves. Some are going to be tucked out and filling in some of those blank areas. And I will put that reference photo up again so that you can see kind of what I'm going for here with the leaves coming out from the bottom of the flowers and spilling over the edge of that metal tub. And what I'm doing here is I'm just flipping my brush around and using the handle just to kind of press in some vein detail lines. So the paint will settle down into where it's still, while the paint's still wet, you have to do this. The paint will then settle down into those ridged areas that I'm just lightly pressing into. And if you try to do that on a dry leaf, you'll have to do another layer of paint over the top to get that to work, because otherwise you won't get that paint settling in that darker line. So that is a fun technique to try out if you haven't done that before for vein details. Especially, this is a little bit easier than trying to go back over with a small brush after the fact and do your vein details. It's a different trick to try out. And I'm just varying up the colors of green, mixing a little more yellows and some of that blue just to give myself some variation in my leaves. And I'm just going to dry that really quickly. Alright, I'm just going to go back and just add a couple little more layers just to give some color variation in here. I'm still leaving some white space. I don't want to cover that completely. Oh, I'm starting to get a little brown there with mixing too many colors. Okay, now I can go and do my bucket, and I wanted to use that gray stone. Just add some more water to that to dilute it. Okay, I'm just going to do my first layer, and I'm going to have my light coming from this direction. Like they have a little bit of a shadow here, so I want to have it a little darker on this side. I'm just very carefully going around those leaves. And then I might just drop a little bit more of that pigment in there and spread that around. And then just going very diluted, just adding a little bit more water just to go to this side. That out there. I think I might just give a little bit more of that and just make that slightly darker. So I just drop some of that pigment in, dry my brush off, and then I can, it's still wet, so I can just push that color around. It should get a little darker on that side. And then just kind of along the bottom edge there. I'm going to dry that, and then I can add a few little details. I'm going to switch over to my one and use that same gray and just dilute that down a little bit. And then in my inspiration picture, there's kind of a little line along the bottom. So I'm just using the same color, just a little more concentrated, and just doing a layer. And then there's like a seam for the bucket going down this way. And then a little more diluted, and just kind of give that ridge edge. There's like a little texture here, maybe a little bit more. It might be hard to see, it's very faint. I'm just gonna add that kind of ridge edge that's in there and just have that kind of fade off into there. And then I want it to be a little darker on this side, so just add a little pigment. Oops, drip some water there. Okay. I have to switch to a regular towel here because my paper towels are getting a little low. Okay. I like that pretty good actually. And then the top of my bucket you can't see. I'm going to go back into that same gray, very, very diluted. I'm just going to do a little, very faint little shadow coming this way. There's hardly any pigment. Okay, this is be the time if you see any big gaps in your white areas that you wanted to add some leaves poking out. I think I might just add a few, and I had so many different variations of green I mixed up here from that Woodlands set. So I'll just add in some little hints of foliage poking out here and there, just to kind of balance that. I think Even in the picture, they seem kind of off balance even in there. Okay, there's a little bit there. I really like how that turned out. I'm just going to give that one final dry. I'm just going to try and fix that. Blend that a little bit as I'm drying. Okay, some really cute little loose watercolor hydrangeas.